Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. What you want to talk about? Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, Lisa, Lowe, JT, and friends. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. What you want to talk about? Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, Lisa, Lowe, JT, and friends.
Lisa, Lowe, JT, and friends. Y'all ready to cook up some conversation? Come on.
Kitchen talk.
Let's talk.
There it is.
Let's talk.
Hey.
Hey, Jordan.
We got a good one tonight. I was waiting all week.
Oh my goodness. Listen, welcome to Kitchen Talk. Welcome back to Elder Lenoris McFadden, who had a great Kitchen Talk experience with us. We had
Yes,
so
I
much
did.
fun. And then Minister Jordan Griffin, actually got to experience us for the first time in this virtual space. So welcome back. When we get back in the kitchen, Jordan, we have to have you come to the kitchen.
Oh yes. It's a must.
Jordan, I can't hear you.
They cook strong in that kitchen.
Yeah, it's a different type of conversation in there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it get a little hot in the kitchen.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Jordan, you good? I don't know. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I don't hear you.
We'll get it worked out. So this is Kitchen Talk CTC.
Conversations that cook.
Yes, they do. We are super excited for this conversation. Jordan will get it together in a second. He hung out with us when we talked about New Year's Eve. We were talking about New Year's Eve and that tradition and resolutions or something like that. But we had a great time with Jordan, and then Elder McFadden, Pastor Mac, as he is affectionately called by the great people of the SG1 Church, the City of Victory.
Yeah.
Yes. And it looks like you're in your office, Pastor.
I am just finished doing some work here at the church and rehearsals and all that stuff. So yeah, we're here. I was gonna go next door so they could see your victory house, but I didn't have time to run over there.
I know. Oh my goodness.
Glad
I'm gonna have to
back,
do a
though.
for real plug. We're gonna have to have the Victory House people on here one time too.
Yes.
So we are super excited about France and I have been talking about this for a minute. And so we're so glad we got to get you back in and have this particular conversation. So there is a such thing as the separation of church and state. But do we blur the lines when it comes to politics? So we wanted to talk tonight about politics and the pulpit. And it was really, really crazy this past election with, I don't know whether I've ever seen or even, I guess, paid attention to the amount of religious leaders that were speaking out their political platforms or political views, or just siding with candidates and things like that. And I just found it really, really interesting this last election. And again, I mean, it could be all the time. but it was really, really interesting. So, Jordan.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Yes, yes. You made it. You made it. So here on Kitchen Talk, we talk about politics and voting and just trying to keep the people informed anyway, because it is essential. That's the way your voice is heard when you vote. It is the way we hold people accountable to what they're doing. Is if you don't do your job, you got to go. We got to vote you out. And then even when we vote you in, you work for us. You don't work for special interest. But I just found it really, really interesting. And again, we talk about this all the time. I think politics creeps up in almost all of our conversations. So politics and the pulpit. All right. I'm gonna start with you, Jordan. What's your thoughts on that? Because I know one of your heroes.
Right. I think politics is necessary within the church. But you just don't want to. You want to make sure that your church doesn't become political or political size. I don't know. I know what that word is I'm looking for. I think politics is what we do, our everyday life, how we move about, where we go to work, our government, how all that plays into our lives. And it is necessary to have that voice in the pulpit, because it's real issues. It's what people are going through on the everyday experience. And some may argue to what extent, I think that may even be the bigger question. To what extent do we put politics or use politics or have politics within our pulpit? But it's also important to keep in mind that our faith is political. I mean, Jesus going to the cross was very political. You know what I'm saying? He was put before, the Roman government. All of that's politics. So
right.
As much as we want to separate politics from our faith, it doesn't happen, because it's a part of our life. So those are my thoughts.
It is. It definitely is a part of our life, and it's very interesting that we can make an argument for it either way, right? Keep religion separate, or because we are driven and live by faith, then you can't really separate the two. It's a part of what we do. Pastor Mac?
Yeah. So I think I take the same position on it. I think this whole separation of church and state, where did it come from? You know what I'm saying? So I think we should judge everything by its root. You know what I'm saying? Where did it come from? So we have to dig into that to really find out if it's biblical, or if it's something that people inspired, and for whatever reason that they did that. I think that politics and the pulpit go together, because both, if you look at them separately, they both deal with people. The pulpit ministry is meeting the needs of the people. Politics is governing the people in a way that we should meet the needs of the people. You know what I'm saying? So I think they go together. And since Jordan went down the resurrection trail, then he opened up, because I didn't come here to preach tonight. Since we're in the season, he opens it up. Jesus is he's living what many of us live, especially as people of color, in this country, didn't do anything wrong, but yet is tried, convicted unjustly, and crucified and murdered for it. You know what I'm saying? As I'll echo him, it's political. It was political because he was coming to upset a system. Yeah, he came to upset a system. And we know that, from any angle that you want to view it, anytime we upset systems, you know what I'm saying, Yeah, there's going to be repercussions. There's going to be people are going to be upset when you begin to mess with their systems, especially if they've been in place for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, and it somehow moves you out of power, or you feel like your value is threatened. Yeah, definitely, you get upset about that. So how do you, so if you're saying you keep it together and not separate it, what's the line? Is there a line that you tread, that you walk, that you I can't believe Francis being this quiet.
He's quiet. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
Me too.
I know he's gonna come with his guns in a little bit.
He's gonna come out shoot. He's just listening right now. Loading the gun.
I mean, even Jordan, you mentioned it. What's the line? Is there a line?
Yeah, there is a line. There is a line. I think the line is when we get too involved in the political antics. That's when we have crossed the line. I think personally that we should go all the way forward for speaking, truth to power to any systems, any power and powers that may affect our people. There is no limit to that, in my opinion. I think the line is drawn when we get into the antics of politics and the pettiness of politics and all that type of stuff. I think that is the problem. So that's just my little 2 cents.
Well. Here we go. Listen. First, I agree with both of you. I think that is essentially. Let's go back. There's power in the pulpit, and when we don't use that power, we miss out on opportunities to better our people, better our situations, better our country. And there are a lot of people that are in the pulpit that are using it to push themselves instead of push the people. Yeah. So, you brought up, Christ, but let's go into a little bit back into the Black church. Let's go to MLK and him pushing the people in terms of what we need to do to empower our people, right? And that came from the pulpit. That came from not just him, but a number of pastors, right, who said that there is power and we are the people and we have power in what, how our money is being spent, right? Because you're paying the taxes. How our resources, how we're teaching and helping our students and how we're helping our communities, all that to me stems right back to the pulpit. And I think what we mess up on is membership. What's the cost of membership, right? If I'm a member, how does my membership make a difference? Not just in the church, but outside of that. So the pulpit, again, has so much power, but the wrong person pushing the wrong agenda puts us behind. Again, we live in a falsehood. I think there's a lot of people, I'm not going to just go with our pastors, but there's a lot of people.
Just say people.
A lot of people who live in a falsehood that, all I have is what's between these pages. But that's not how Christ lived, right? And it affects us to this day where we're still seeing it between the pages and we're missing out what's happening around us from a day-to-day basis. I think, again, we saw it in the vote. This past vote, we saw the power of, not just, I was just talking to a fraternity brother and a sorority sister about this. It was not just the Divine Nine. There was a lot of other organizations, specifically Black church, that was involved in educating and promoting and inspiring people to get out and use their voice. There is a piece that I think we're missing, but I'm going to stop on that note and I'm going to tell y'all what that piece is momentarily.
See, that's what he do.
like
Y'all
a
see what I have to
seasoned,
deal with.
like
I
a
deal with this
seasoned,
every week.
a seasoned
Every
television host. Not gonna give you all right now. Gotta be a
I'm gonna have
cliffhanger.
to hold it.
Gotta hold something.
Gotta hold it.
Gotta hold something
But you
for
know,
the end.
it's really, really interesting that we that there are times when we feel like, you know, we shouldn't talk about politics in the pulpit, or even from the church standpoint and different things like that. But if you take a look at history, everything that we learned, be it school, be it the Bible, be it some type of message, government, or whatever, the black folks learned it, the slaves learned it from the church.
Mhm.
The slave master would have a preacher that he picked to come and tell the people what he wanted them to know about the
Right.
Bible.
Right.
That would govern them accordingly.
Correct.
So it's always been a part of the pulpit. So are we pushing the limit when the pastor runs for office? Are we
No,
pushing
you're
the
not.
limit there? Are we pushing the
No.
limit there? Because
And
I'm thinking,
you already let the cat out the bag, because that's what I was about to talk about. You got to develop these leaders. We can't wait for people to tell us this is who you need to vote for, right?
yeah.
If Pastor Mack is the guy, and I believe in what Pastor Mack is talking about, Pastor Mack has shown himself approved as a leader, as a community activist, as a man with high morals and high character, as a person who has an insight on what's happening in the community. Why should I not vote for you?
Mm-hmm.
Why should I wait till somebody say, well, or here we got this person, you know? And we have a lot of politicians who come into the pulpit only during politics, only when it's time to
my.
know you. I don't know you. I don't know where you've been.
Right.
I don't know what you know. I don't know how you're gonna use my money. I don't know how you're gonna treat my kid. I can't even leave my dog with you. But you want my vote.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying with the black church. And I was gonna save it. But Lisa brought it out.
Put it on.
We have to do better in terms of preparing. You said it earlier. There is power in the vote. So we need to use that power and put people in position who we believe have the skill sets, have the ability to do this.
Yes.
You got to teach my sermon today.
Can I have? Make you acknowledge my finger, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Got my finger.
Yes, sir.
Yes. You are absolutely right. 1,000% correct. And I think there's Bible to back us up. But here's the problem. Let me throw this in here just a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Here's the problem. Everybody in church doesn't agree with that.
I agree.
You know, everybody, and that's where we have the problem. That's where we begin to lose power at the poll, because the church is so disconnected.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Within itself about what our purpose should be.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? You know, and like, okay, there's people of persuasion like yourself, where, okay, the pastor has all this in place, and yes, he should lead us. But then there are others that think, okay, well, if the spiritual leader is in the political position, he's going to over spiritualize the position. You know, and then these agendas that are contrary to Bible, you know what I'm saying, but have a place, you know, in society, they don't get attention because the leader now is a spiritual leader. For real.
So, Rev, I got to stop you for just a second. I got to stop you.
And I need Jordan to speak to Warnock. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to get to Warnock next. But it's not about just the pastor, because the pastor's job for me is to build leaders, right? So the pastor don't got to be like, we're not going out and vote. You know what? As a pastor, I'm preparing leaders who can go out that we can vote for. It could be his wife. It could be the first lady.
Absolutely. I went with that. I'm sorry to cut you off. I went with that because you used that. You said the pastor. So I went with that. But I agree. And it's really it's the kingdom agenda. You know, that's something I'm passionate about. Kingdom. It's kingdom agenda. And you're right, friends. We have to raise up these people to sit in these seats. You know what I'm saying? We wonder why the country is going left, you know what I'm saying, or going in a position that's somewhat antichrist. And it's because the people in the seats aren't saved.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We need, all right, I'll come back.
No, I know. You know, I got to bring up another one because we had somebody, I didn't want to bring up her name, but she was calling angels, the dark angels from Africa.
How do I go off the screen? How I go off here?
She was trying to call some people.
You got
And I said, well, what? Well, hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
Who you calling?
This is a public show. I'm sorry.
I'm saying,
I can't go off the screen.
I mean, we got to be, Lisa said it earlier. When this was established, the slave master said, I'm going to choose who you need to listen to and what this person needs to say. As Black, we need to be smart. We need to be astute. We need to be alert. We need to be prepared, because just because that person is leading doesn't mean that person is a great leader.
Right.
And
But it's also
ready to say, no, you cancel. Cancel.
But also what you said too was
cancel.
If you can. So you're a Christian, and if you can separate it, that might be the problem. Is that you get in a political office, but you somehow can separate right from wrong.
Right.
Like if I was faith-based or spiritual, I wouldn't do that. But because I'm in the secular world, I'll do it. So that's really the problem. Is that you might be Christian, you might be saved, but somehow you can separate yourself. Now that might be a problem.
Well, that is a problem, period, because there is no separation. That's again the lie.
It is a thin line.
That's the lie that was put in place from the beginning, that it needs to be separate. I love what Pastor Max said. Where did that all stem from? Where did it come from?
Where did it come from?
If you're a person with high values, a person who's honest, a person who's reliable, dependable, that's a person who's responsible. That's what I'm looking for. That's what that's the fundamental basis of what Christianity is looking for. I love my brother, and I'm looking out for my brother. In terms of being a public servant, that's what you do. You serve, right? So if you have those skill sets, why am I voting for this person who doesn't have not one? We already looking at somebody in Congress. I'm not going to say no names, you know, who's showing pictures while he's at work. He's buying scholarships. Then you got some of these other people, they lie on Monday, they lie on Tuesday, they get to church, they lie on Sunday. But we still voting these people in, and they come to your church. Now, that's the thing about the pulpit, again, is power. We should not allow certain people. I'm going to do the research. Let's put it in this context. In my own house, you can't come through the door if I don't know you. But at the church, we let everybody in. Oh, yeah, that person's running for office. Let him in. Let's talk to. No. We got to use our power again to push the agenda that needs to be pushed in terms of putting our people in the best position. And I'm not just saying Black people. I'm saying the American people in the best position to win. Because that to me is what Christianity is about.
Yeah. Oh, I watched that too, Sandra. Thank you. It was very, very good. Did y'all see that?
It was really good.
You haven't seen it? You need to watch it, friends, when you get a chance. I think it's like a 2-3 part series.
Right.
But it was good. It shed quite a bit of light. And then a lot of it you were like, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But I think in talking about this, so I know that Martin Luther King, Jordan, is one of your heroes. So when I think about his life, do you know or have you researched why he never ran for office?
They killed him.
I mean, I know
think-
that. I know that part, but he did. I mean, he had a little bit of life he could have.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think there are different type of leaders, right? Within this movement that we're in. And you do have the political. I do have a book on it. It's somewhere around here. But you do have like.
Is it behind that Morehouse?
Yeah, I see. We see it. We see it. We see
I
it.
ain't mad at you, Jordan. Do your thing.
We
Show
thank
that
God.
light. Show that light.
I'm telling you.
We thank God. But you have different type of leaders. You have your let me see. You have your pastoral leader. You have these are the terms that the book uses. I believe you have your pastoral leader. You have your prophetic leader. You have your political pastoral leader, and then you have your nationalist. And I think King fell more into the prophetic leader only. And where the prophetic leader and the pastoral political leader differ is that the prophetic leader is an agitator consistently, is a consistent agitator of the system, a consistent agitator of the injustice, a consistent agitator of what is going on. And so when you play both fields, like we just talked about, when you're playing in the political and the prophetic, the political and the prophetic, there are some limitations that you have because you also ascribe to a certain position of nationalism, of supporting your country, of being patriotic. And sometimes patriotism. And so sometimes that prophetic person is not going to always be a part of popular opinion. Mm-hmm. And so they can't run for office. I think when King died, his rating was terrible. Nobody liked King. Some black folk didn't like King. And so his job, I believe, was to be an agitator to the system for the things that was going on during that time.
Well, I would say this. I think King was the opposite in terms of what you just stated. I think when he was at his highest, this is a guy who's very popular. This is somebody who's changed the way people started to see black folks. Now, you had King running and you had Malcolm X. So you had two different viewpoints on what we should do. But there was one thing that was consistent. A change needed to happen, right? The more and more people started to identify with King, which was the difference between him and Malcolm X, you have more white folks who started to say, I like what he's saying. It's nonviolent. He's trying to work the system. He's trying to work with everybody. At a time when radio, TV is at its height, right? So you're getting more publicity now, right? So people are seeing you. The white people saw that as the biggest threat, that this guy could potentially win a race if he runs for office.
I would just
no, they did not want to see that. I agree with you. He was definitely an agitator, and many of his colleagues were agitators too. That's what they were doing. That's what Black Lives Matter is doing right now, and a lot of these other groups, they're agitating the system. But the piece that I thought that they knew what was going to come next was him running for office. I mean, he was too close to the White House. This is a guy who's talking to the president like that's his homeboy. You know what I mean? Not a lot of folks who are the agitators. Now, this is the problem, guy. He's talking to the president. He's getting inside information on what should happen, what shouldn't happen. And then he's sharing it. Like, hold on a second.
Until he went against it.
Oh yeah, they still went against it, but he learned a lot.
He went against it, yeah.
He learned a lot from the system. Mm-hmm. More importantly, he learned a lot about himself. And I think when he started to change, because I think towards the end of his life, he realized some of the mistakes. Number one, you was asking too much. I was trying to be nice, too nice. I needed to start my own, to develop my own. Once he started changing that it was by then it's too late.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to pick up on. I believe it was in the last 5 years of King's life that him and President Lyndon Johnson actually did not have a good relationship because of the approach that he was taking. The approach that King took the first 10 years of the first 8 to 10 years of the civil rights movement, he was pushing for civil rights.
Correct.
But in the last 5 years of his life, he was pushing for economic rights, which would basically influence how we spend our money on these black folk. Right. And so that's why they didn't like King, because he started talking, we got to get in their pockets.
Oh yeah.
And so
that'll do it.
And so his ratings then went low once King started talking about economic change, because voting rights didn't cost you anything.
Right.
Desegregating buses didn't cost you anything.
Oh no, that did cost you. That cost them.
Financially, it shouldn't have cost you anything. But economically, when we're talking about jobs, when we're talking about housing, when we're talking about all those type of things that King started pressing for in his last 5 years, that's when the turn changed. And that's when ratings really started to go down for King, which ultimately, I believe, led to his assassination by
once the bus
leave it.
That's a whole nother kitchen talk.
Oh, another kitchen talk.
That's a whole nother kitchen talk. Oh my goodness.
Who killed JFK? Who killed MLK?
Right. The bus boycott is what set it all off, right? Because now you're telling the world that if you don't support us, we won't support you.
Right.
So now when they started losing that money from the bus, okay, we're gonna change now.
Yeah.
We know you're gonna change now.
The money,
your bus. And you know what? For us to get on that bus, not only we need to get on that bus, we need to get jobs from that bus. So then they started hiring black bus drivers to go into these black communities to drive the bus. It always comes down to the money. And again, if you have a person like King in office, which they never wanted to see, to this day, even with Barack, it's a problem because you might give too many people opportunities that we should always have to ourselves. And that's the problem.
Yeah. And it's, I'm glad you brought up the money aspect, because I also think about when we're talking about politics and the pulpit, you see, I'm going to let you come to my church because you're going to serve my special interests. Now, where is that? Come on. You gonna make sure something gets zoned for me?
Right.
Right. I'm gonna let you come to my church. So you have pastors that are political.
Yeah.
They just don't run for office.
Yeah.
Very right.
And can run it through those that they have helped put in position.
Correct.
Yeah, because like you said, the pulpit is powerful for many reasons. You know, in all the communities, if you can get, that's why there's so much chase, for lack of a better word, of the preachers, of the pastors, because they know if we can get pastors on board, you know what I'm saying, that's a greater influence, you know, for certain things. So what do I need to do in the name of reciprocity to make sure I get this pastor on board? You know? And the larger the church, you know, the more frequent the chase.
I'll say this again. What is
I'm about to log off now.
Of membership? It's real. It's real.
It's real.
Again, we have a greater opportunity to put, again, our community in the best position, but we have people who fall into that chase and they don't help the people, they help themselves. That's where the lines start to blur. The lines, so, you know, you have Warnock, who won his race. I love it. I said, you know what? I'm happy that he ran and he won. So now is, how do I put this to work? How do I do the things that I know my constituents need? Why? Because I was with them. I know what they need. I know what the issues are. I'm on the ground. So what's the difference? That's what I'm looking for. You know,
I think it. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, Frank.
no, you're good. You're good.
I think the key to that whole pastoral political leader thing is that the pastor is already a community leader before he or she runs for position. And which, like you said, establishes the base, a relationship in the community. I know what you need. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the streets with you. You know, I'm doing food distributions. I'm already down at City Hall talking to so and so and so and so. You know, trying to work out the things for my neighborhood. So that's important for that pastor to already be in the community, not just preaching on Sundays. Correct. And doing Bible study on Wednesdays and teaching Sunday school Sunday morning, but to be in the community.
So is there ever? So here's a question: is there ever room or a line for conflict of interest? So if you're running for office, are you only going to be looking out for your people? And I mean, I know we see that anyway.
So
I mean, we see it anyway. We do see it anyway. But how, and I always say this because I really believe it. To me, if you accept and announce and acknowledge your call to ministry, you ought to walk worthy of the vocation. And so how then can you operate in this, in this place that is not all that holy?
I think that's the reason why.
How do you keep yourself from serving your own interests? Because this, my church is on this street, and it might be a better plan for the city, but if I could get it on my street, it'll really help.
Well, number one, pastor's already doing that anyways, right? He's looking out for his people and his flock. And I think when you get onto the political side, right, you're getting onto the political scene, you're looking at not just your people, you're looking at the whole spectrum now. Now I need to work with not just my, team of pastors in my church, but the whole community at this point. For me, that's the difference. Again, when you're in a leadership position, you have a responsibility, right? And because you have the ability, you should respond to that. So as a leader, I would hope that the pastor has already reached out to his fellow colleagues and talked to them and figure out what's going on at this church and what's going on at that church and how can we help each other pull each other up to the next level. So I don't have to wait till I get in the office to start acting like a leader. That's the issue right there.
That's good.
We're not waiting. I voted you in because I know you have the skill set. Our last president, they voted him in without knowledge of what he could do.
They knew he couldn't do nothing.
And he's not.
They voted him anyway.
Throughout the country, we keep.
One word I want to throw out.
Go ahead, Rev. Go ahead.
Common word that speaks to all of that, including the last one, whatever number y'all want to put on him or whatever respect you have for him. Humility. Humility. And that word is taboo, often even in the pulpit, even in church.
Yes.
Humility. It takes, back to Lisa's original question, it takes humility to be able to look out for everybody else and not just your street.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? If you're proud and it's just about me, which we saw in the last presidential administration, and those that push that agenda to get him in that seat, it was all laced in pride.
Right.
And but humility, again, if we're going to promote the cause of Christ and actually live as Christians and kingdom citizens, then we gotta take on his spirit, which was humility for the sake of all. He didn't just die for Jews. He didn't just die for his people. He died for everybody. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I think we lose that in the pulpit, and perhaps that's why we don't see more pastors in these positions, because that is oxymoronic, isn't it? But we often struggle in the humility area. And
again, Rev, I'm gonna say it again. I think again, it's not just the pastors; it's also the pastors who prepare people to run for these offices too. Right? It's one of the things I love about my church is the inspiration. Right? Going to church, not just my current church, but growing up. It's that inspiration that you get on Sunday to help you get through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, back to Sunday again. It's that, you know what? Regardless, hope is still alive. We can make this. We got the faith. We can do this. Well, we're talking about it on a spiritual level, but on a political level, we need to be talking about the same thing, right? I'm looking for leaders who can say, hey, we could make this city greater. We can make the school system greater. We can make this country greater. And it starts with people who have that agenda of what you just said. I'm not proud. I'm here to help you. I'm here to serve you. There's a benefit in membership, and I'm still trying to figure out what the benefit is. What's the benefit, Doc? If I got a church, that's 5,000 strong, 10,000, 1,000,000 strong, why are we still voting in 45s? And I'm not just talking about for president, but for senators, governors. Right. I don't care if they traffic ticket people, for police officers, judges. Why are we still voting in the wrong people to run our country?
The wrong people to who?
That's correct. You're right.
Perhaps it's the right people for that agenda.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
And for our agenda, they're the right people.
Correct.
The real issue and just tragedy in all this is that, well, from that perspective, what we're talking about, we're all supposed to be the church.
That's
all
supposed
to be the church. The Republican church, the Democratic church, Independent. It's all supposed to be the church. Right. And so what happens, and this goes so far deep in church, denominationalism and all this kind of different things, we take certain parts and we just have this agenda for this and this agenda for that. And if we could just ever get on the same page of the kingdom agenda. You know, but that's up to interpretation. What does that mean to me?
Correct.
Based on my culture, based on my history, what does that mean? We talked about the history of the Black church. You know what I'm saying? We came from a certain place. The history of the other church, you know what I'm saying, came from a different place. We got different cultures, but supposedly are same, serving the same person. But we've got to come to the table, first and talk about some of this stuff before we go sit at these other tables.
See what he do? He just took Kitchen Talk to a whole nother place.
No.
But it is very interesting how we when we talk about politics and the pulpit, how we do choose. We do choose when it's appropriate and when it's not. We do choose, who we're all right with being a reverend and a politician, and then who we're not all right with being a reverend and a politician. So we choose again about keeping church and state separate. Like you said, Pastor, where does that come from? That really is what about the dollar, or it's about who believes what. So how can I say it's okay for this church, but it's not okay for that church? And so to them, it is easier just, I think, to keep or try to keep it separate. They do that a lot with even with money for the arts. If you are too radical in your creativity, you can't get government funding.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it is this whole pick and choose. Did somebody turn on the oven? Because it's hot in here.
Yeah, it's hot.
Talk about it.
We needed that. We needed that heat.
Talk about it.
We need that heat.
Right.
Control the narrative, the agenda, the control.
Control the narrative. You said it. Say it again.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Money does
My
that.
word.
Who governs the money? The politicians. That's on so many different levels. But yes, definitely in the arts. But we see it in the faith-based community as well.
Yeah. You see it. You see it across the board. So to me, I think we need more politics in the pulpit. But again, I still think, is there a line that needs to be defined?
I don't think there's a line. I think at the end of the day, it needs to be one word: responsible. Whether you're a pastor, whether you're a politician, whether you're the president, whether you're the secretary, you need to be responsible, and we're gonna hold you responsible, right? I think what we do as church members, when the pastor is wrong, oh no, you wrong. You got to go. You wrong. We got to put you to the side for a minute.
That's if they like him. If they don't like him, he up out of there.
And again, that's what we need to cultivate, right? That sense of self-thought, like, okay, what's right, that's wrong. So you got to go. Now, when you on the job, same thing. You leading, and your words are our voices. So if you're not doing that right, you're wrong. You got to go. But we let it slide. Oh, he just had a bad day. Oh, he wanted to go to Mexico. Everybody else is cold and dying. Just give him
Lord have mercy.
Just give him a chance. No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Let him swim.
Yeah.
He want to swim.
And then he be the same. These are the same people that come to your church. They take the little photo ops, and we allow it. We allow it. We got to say no. Right is right, and wrong.
Wrong is wrong.
I love you, but I don't know this guy. We didn't see this guy. This guy don't got nothing to do with what we trying to push, and you know that. So what's the real? Talk to us now. What's the real deal right now? You got something going? If you do, let us know, because then you could go. Again, we have to be a part of this process all the way around, from the church to the polls. We can't just sit back and let people run it for us. We got to be a part of the process, and that's where you can stop those blurred lines. Do you at the end of the day, do your job. Do your job.
Yeah. And it is so, I don't know, do we just put on blinders when we walk in the four walls of the church like the outside world don't exist?
I have a good friend who told me this, and I gotta leave it with you. Rev, you tell me what you think. He was an old professor. Old professor, and he said this. He said, I work with some great, intelligent people. Monday through Friday, they are doing some amazing work. But on Sunday, I don't know what happens. It's like they just turn the switch. And all of that intelligence and knowledge, and it just goes out the window. I don't know what happens on Sunday for them to turn it off. I don't know.
I think it has something to do with our concept of faith. And I think we allow faith to mean there is no intellect when God has given us intellect. He blessed us with faith to have the ability to have faith, but he also blessed us with intellect. And so when we come into those doors, whether it's physically or virtually, there is an expectation even as a minister or those, there is an expectation that you don't only bring your faith, but you bring your intellect as well. Because we're trying to cultivate a community and build a community that is not just of faith, but is of an intellect and is well-rounded. And so in order to be well-rounded, you need both. And so that's all I was going to say.
You just gave a sermon right there.
That's it.
All right, I'm gonna pass the collection plate, and Pastor Matt gonna give it a benediction.
We're done. Yeah, that was it. He said it.
Yeah, but it is. But you know what? There too is. I think there is a system or a people that count on that, Jordan. They count on how much you trust the man or woman of God, how much you trust the pastor, how much you trust the prophet, how much some people will not move an inch until the pastor or the prophet say do such and such and so. Like they can't pray for themselves.
Right.
They need somebody to come and you know, I can't make this decision. And like you say, in the secular world, they find brilliant. But when it comes to that faith, when it comes to that faith move, when it comes to that faith launch, when it comes to walking that faith line, it's like, no, I gotta wait and see what the prophets say. And that there are people in the political arena. Is it the separation of church and state, how we operate? That we can't yeah, absolutely, bro. That we cannot think for ourselves, or we feel like, now don't get me wrong, I trust the man of God. I especially trust the pastor that I have right now. I hold him in very high regard.
Amen.
But at the same time, I'm going to listen to what he says. I'm going to I trust the God that's in him, but I'm also going to listen to make sure that's what God said and it's confirming. I'm not going to be mindless and be just like, oh, okay, Pastor Mac says so and so and so, so I'm going to go out here and jump in the lake and I can't swim.
And that goes back to
the part. You can't swim. Right. No, that was a good analogy.
And the good pastor, the good shepherd should teach you to do that.
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
You know,
that's what I was saying.
Go and read it for yourself. Here it is. This is why we give scripture reference, and it's important how we say it and why we say it. Go look at it for yourself.
Right.
You know, something different, then come back to me. But again, culture, expectation it's taught us over these years. You know, we sit him up here, or her, we sit them up here, and we just believe whatever they say. So that's the difference between Monday through Friday in the secular world, you know, and then Sunday, you know, in the spiritual arena. Because Monday through Friday, you're expected, you're taught, this is the culture, to think for yourself. You get paid to think. On your job. You come on Sunday and you just got to hear what the man of God says. But, and we don't have time for that, but kind of where we started, again, the root of the Black church. That's what we were talking. You don't need to check this. You don't need to fact check this. You just believe what's being taught, was being handed off to you.
And danger. That's the danger of the pulpit.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Now you bring in
that's
this
a whole nother conversation.
You don't know, but you know him. You know he a crook, a liar, thief, right? I know the lady in Orlando calling on the angel. She know that dude is a crook, a liar, and a thief. She know him. But then she's still bringing them in and telling her people, you need to vote for this person.
Right.
Like, hold on a second. We got to
Right.
stop, drop, and roll is what they told us when I was growing
When
up.
you on fire.
You on fire. When these people trying to light you up, you need to stop, drop, and roll and say, That's not how it works around here. I can choose.
I want to put a
Jamal, you'll put this, we trust our bosses and leaders in our secular world. Yeah, we do sometimes. If they tell us to do something, we just go on ahead and do it. And we've seen examples of that, even with different medical things. We turn a blind eye because they said so and so and so, and then down the line, you know that you could have stopped something.
Correct.
Or we see, I think about the exonerated young men from what's the place they just she just did a documentary on them. Oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
It just left me.
Me too.
Ava DuVernay just did a documentary on the boys that were convicted for the in New York.
Oh, you're talking
Central
about
Park.
Yes.
Yeah, the Central Park. Right. There were people. There were people who knew that was wrong.
Right.
And they didn't say anything. Or if they did say something, they let somebody turn their mind and say, well, don't say nothing.
Don't say nothing. Right.
Don't say nothing. And so we have got to stop that kind of foolishness. And so to me, if you go ahead and let's merge this politics and this pulpit and let's tell the truth.
Well, Lisa, let me say this. It's never been disconnected because we're not disconnected people. We've fallen into the verbiage, but it's never disconnected. It's always be somebody on Monday and you already know who I am. Unless I'm putting a different mask on every single time, it's no disconnect. We allow them to use that verbiage to again separate us.
Yeah.
Just like it's a separation between Republicans and Democrats, black, white, there's always a separation as an illusion to say the more you separate, the more we can divide you against one another, have these issues against one another while we enjoying the show right now, right?
Right.
Eating the popcorn, we having a good time because of you. I said
distractions.
It's the Willie Lynch syndrome all over again. When we have to go back and say, this is one nation, this is one church, this is one people under God. Regardless of what you believe in, we all in the same planet, on the same spaceship right now. So we should be working towards helping each other through this process, not fighting and dividing and all this other stuff. Again, we have the power. Are we using it?
Again, are we using it?
I say again, the power of membership. You got members. Are you using that power?
I think we're using it. It's just a matter of are you using your powers for good or for evil? That's really the question, because you do have the power. Are you using your powers for good or for evil? If you are silent while things are happening and you don't say nothing, then you're using your power for evil.
I agree. There it is. Because I was going to add, you're not using your power at all. And that's an evil in itself. They call that sin. That's a whole nother.
I'm not finna get started with you on that, friends, because we're not.
I would contend that is sin. I would contend.
That's it. That's
a whole nother conversation.
But right, Jordan. It is a whole nother conversation. I'm trying to tell you. So listen, guys. Oh my God, this has been like so great, and it definitely needs to be continued.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Pastor Mac.
pleasure, my honor.
The wonderful pastor of SG1 Church City of Victory out there on the Chairs Crossroads.
Doing it the right way.
On the east side. On the
east side.
Oh,
just a little. I don't know if I said this already, but that's my pastor. I don't know if y'all caught that or not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan, for hanging out with us again, Jordan Griffin. This is one of my favorite, and I guess this is what happens when you are the executive producer and the creator of a show. You get to invite people you like. This is definitely one of my favorite young preachers. Oh my God, this boy. Oh, young man, I'm sorry. I can't wait for him to. I can't wait for him to turn 35, so he can run for president. I gotta wait though. I gotta wait because he's young. I gotta wait, but that's all right. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be right here when he his little thing, and then I'm gonna come and help run the campaign. That's what I'm gonna do.
Thank you.
Yes. So, we lost you for a minute, Pastor Mac. So, thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us today. We really, really appreciate it. The hour was definitely well spent, and we probably go a little bit longer. But all of us got to get up and go to work tomorrow, I think.
We do. I do.
And I'm still at work. I'm always
yeah. And we need to let you go home. He loved the church. So thank you, everybody. Jordan, are you home from Nashville yet?
No, I'm still in Nashville right now.
Okay. All right. You staying safe though, right?
Oh yes, got to.
Okay. Great.
I'm getting vaccinated tomorrow. Getting the first dose tomorrow.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show too. Uh-oh.
We should do that show. Can I please come to that show?
Can you come and talk about the vaccinations?
Yes.
Can you come and talk about the Johnson why they got to recall it?
Huh?
You know what? That's an interesting piece, man. That's a conversation.
I'm getting fired.
It is.
Yeah, let's
bring
some medical professionals to balance the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to have
we did one a couple of weeks ago, but I do want to do another one, just like updates or whatever. So yeah. I'll let you know, Pastor Mac, and you could drop in if you like.
I just want to drop in and just say my 2 cents.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. If you are watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you are watching us on Facebook, hit the like button. We really appreciate everybody and your comments and your inputs today. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week, this time, 9:00 on Thursday. We will be in the kitchen. I'm in my kitchen. Frank's in his kitchen. JT, I think, was in his kitchen when he was trying to get in.
In and out today. He was in and out. He did a pastor's visit.
So we really appreciate you guys. Appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Good night.